Welcome to the Prescott Lab podcast, not just theory, practical science for everyone. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a physician and integrative medicine researcher at the Ravenshade Institute for Human Health. And if you're a man in your 60s, maybe even your 70s or 80s, quietly wondering where your strength has gone, wondering why your body no longer responds the way your heart still does, you're not alone. I hear it every week. Men who still feel desire, still want connection, still carry the spark, but feel like their body's fallen a step behind. This isn't about ego, it's about identity. It's about lying in bed next to the woman you love and silently asking, "What happened to me?" And the worst part, not knowing if you'll ever get it back. But here's the truth. It's not too late. You don't need injections. You don't need prescriptions. What you need is circulation restored, reawakened, renewed, and nature has already given us the tools. You just haven't been told how to use them. Over the last 3 decades, I've guided hundreds of men through a transformation that started not in the pharmacy but right in their kitchen. 5 simple spices. Used the right way in the right sequence, they stimulate blood flow, revive testosterone, and bring vitality back online, naturally, gently, powerfully. And the method is shockingly simple. A 50-second daily ritual, just chewing, letting the oils absorb, sending a signal to your body that it's time to wake up again. Now, before we go further, do me a favor. If you believe this kind of conversation matters, if you want more real solutions designed for men like you, tap that like button right now. Not for me, for you, because every time you do, it tells our team this content deserves to exist. And honestly, it's the fuel that keeps us showing up week after week. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe. That small click ensures you never miss the practical science that just might change your life. You've taken the first step by listening. Now let's take the next and start where it all begins. First, cinnamon, the blood flow igniter. Let me take you back to one of my most memorable patients, Walter, 68 years old, a retired firefighter from Missouri, strong hands, quiet demeanor, eyes that had seen too much. He sat in my office and said softly, "Doc, it's not that I don't want to, it's that nothing happens. It's like my body just won't answer the call." Walter had tried the usual suspects. The little blue pills gave him pounding headaches and flushed cheeks that made him feel like a teenager with heart problems. He told me, "I don't want shortcuts, I want to feel like myself again." So I handed him a cinnamon stick, not a supplement, not a powder, just a piece of real, high-quality Ceylon cinnamon bark, no longer than a matchstick. And I said, "Chew this slowly, just once a day, 50 seconds, don't rush. Let it sit under your tongue. Give your body a message it remembers." He looked at me like I'd offered him magic or madness, but he trusted me. A week later, he called and said, "Doc, I woke up with something I haven't felt in years." By week 2, he wasn't just waking up with morning energy, he was initiating again without fear, without pressure. By week 3, his posture had changed, his voice had changed. And in his words, "I finally feel like the man my wife married." There's real science behind that cinnamon stick. Cinnamon contains compounds like cinnamaldehyde and proanthocyanidins, potent natural vasodilators. They help relax blood vessels, allowing for smoother, more reliable blood flow to every part of your body. Not just for intimacy, for energy, mental clarity, and stamina. But that's only part of the story. Cinnamon also improves insulin sensitivity, a hidden key for men over 60. Because when your body stops responding to insulin properly, a condition called insulin resistance, your testosterone drops, your belly grows, your circulation slows, and your spark fades. Cinnamon helps reverse that decline, naturally, gently, effectively. But only if you use it right, and no, not that powdered stuff from the baking aisle. You need true cinnamon bark, real Ceylon. Chew a small piece for 50 seconds. Let the oils release and absorb under your tongue. Don't gulp, don't swallow, let it linger. You're not eating spice, you're reactivating memory, deep cellular memory. Most of my patients report results in the first few days, more clarity, more energy, more confidence. Not because of a miracle, but because the systems that once served them well are finally being given a reason to rise again. And cinnamon is only the beginning, because once the blood starts flowing, something else needs to awaken right alongside it. Second, cardamom, the nitric oxide surge. Let me share a story that might hit close to home. Frank was 67, a retired mechanic from Ohio, came into my office with grease still under his fingernails and said, "Doc, I don't feel anything anymore, not tired, not sick, just flat." He loved his wife, he wanted to connect, but he couldn't summon the drive, not physically, not emotionally. Before I go on, let me pause for a moment and say, I saw a few of your comments under our last video. One said, "Is this really about intimacy or just about blood pressure?" Another asked, "I've had heart stents. Can these spices still work for me?" And to both of you, let me say yes and yes, because what we're really talking about here is circulation. And when circulation improves, everything improves from energy and focus to connection and performance. That's where cardamom comes in. This small green pod doesn't look like much. You've probably passed it 100 times in the spice aisle without a second glance. But inside those seeds are compounds that stimulate nitric oxide, the chemical that tells your blood vessels to relax, expand, and flow. See, as men age, nitric oxide levels decline sharply. Less nitric oxide equals less blood flow equals weaker, slower, unpredictable performance. But cardamom flips that script. I gave Frank a simple ritual. Every morning he cracked open 2 green cardamom pods, chewed the black seeds gently for 50 seconds, then followed with 5 deep nasal breaths. Simple, gentle, but powerful. 3 weeks later he walked into my office and smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen on him. I didn't force anything, he told me. It just happened, and I felt like myself again. And my wife, she noticed the difference before I said a word. That's the power of nitric oxide. It's not a stimulant, it's a signal. A signal to your body to let go of constriction and allow life to move freely again. Cardamom doesn't just increase nitric oxide, it also helps repair the endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels. That's the part responsible for flexibility and responsiveness. 2 things every man over 60 needs more of in the bedroom and beyond, and don't underestimate the breathing. Those 5 slow, nasal breaths after chewing aren't fluff. They activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of you that says, I'm safe, I'm connected, I'm ready. And when that system is awake, your body listens. Some men report a shift in just 10 to 14 days, not just in function but in presence. They start showing up, feeling again, wanting again. That's when you know the ritual is working. And as we continue, it's time to move beyond circulation and look at what reignites the core fire of every man's vitality. Third, Clove, the natural testosterone booster. Michael was 72 when he first walked into my clinic. Tall, well-dressed, polite, but defeated. He didn't waste time. Sat down, looked me in the eye and said, Doc, I'm not asking to be 25 again. I just want to feel something. I want to be close to my wife without fear I'll disappoint her. Now, if you're listening to this and quietly nodding to yourself, I want you to know you're not alone. This isn't about vanity, it's about dignity. It's about that quiet, private ache to still be a man, not in theory, but in experience. Michael had tried testosterone gels, expensive pills, even those awkward pumps that no one likes to talk about. None of it made him feel whole again, nothing lasted, so I told him something that made him laugh out loud. I said, Michael, tonight I want you to chew on a clove. A clove, he said. Like from the spice rack. Yes, just one whole, chew it for 50 seconds before bed, then wait. 5 days later, he called my office. His voice was different, stronger, lighter. Doc, he said, my body is waking up. My wife said I looked younger just standing in the kitchen. The secret, a compound in cloves called eugenol, a natural vasodilator and testosterone activator. Eugenol doesn't just help blood vessels open, it interacts with your endocrine system, stimulating your body's own testosterone production naturally. One study showed men consuming cloves daily had 15 to 20% increases in testosterone levels without injections, patches, or side effects. But it's not just about hormones. Clove oil also enhances sensitivity in nerve endings, bringing touch, arousal, and connection back into the picture. And that's something most men don't even realize they've lost until it comes back. So how do you do it right? It's simple. Take one whole dried clove, not ground, not flavored. Place it between your molars. Chew slowly for 50 seconds. Let the warmth spread under your tongue. That tingling, that heat, that's circulation, that's life moving again. Now you might be thinking, will this really make a difference? You won't know until you try. But for so many of my patients, men who felt like nothing could work anymore, this tiny ritual became the turning point. And the best part, once the fire begins to stir, something deeper begins to shift, and that shift prepares you for what's coming next. Fourth, ginger, the circulation engine. David was 66 when he came to see me. Recently retired, former high school principal, calm, articulate, and utterly exhausted. I'm not depressed, Doc, he told me, but it feels like the light inside is fading. No energy, no drive, not even interest in anything. Does that sound familiar to you, let me ask you? Just man to man, when was the last time you broke a sweat doing something that made you feel truly alive? It's a simple question. But for many men after 60, the answer is hard to admit. And that's why ginger is so powerful, not the powdered kind in cookies. I'm talking about the raw, fiery root. The kind that lights your chest up and brings tears to your eyes. I introduced David to what I call the ginger ritual. One thumbnail-sized piece of fresh ginger. Peeled, chew slowly for 50 seconds every evening. Then, and this part is key, follow it with light movement. A short walk, a few squats, something to tell your body, I'm back in the driver's seat. 3 days later, I got an email from him. Doc, something's happening, I'm sweating again, thinking clearer, and yeah, I'm waking up hard in the morning. He ended it with a line I'll never forget. I didn't expect this much change from a piece of root. Here's what makes ginger different. Inside that spicy root are compounds like gingerol and shawgale, which increase circulation, improve oxygen delivery, and even boost your body's natural testosterone response. But more than that, ginger wakes up your metabolism. It turns on the furnace. It makes your blood move again, your nerves fire, your skin feel alive. And it doesn't do it by jacking up your system like caffeine. It works with your physiology, a slow ignition that builds real, lasting fire. Here's how to do it fresh only. Peel it, cut it small, chew for 50 seconds and let the juices sit under your tongue for another 30 seconds. Yes, it burns. Yes, your eyes might water. That's not discomfort, that's circulation returning to forgotten places. And hey, if you're still watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, friend, what are you waiting for? You've made it through cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, and now ginger. That's 4 steps into a better version of yourself. Hit that button. I promise the YouTube algorithm won't bite, but your body, it just might thank you. And just when you think we've gone as deep as nature can go, there's one final spice that ties it all together, turning everything you've done so far into something greater. 5th, star anise, the master activator. There's something poetic about star anise. It doesn't look like a supplement, it doesn't scream for attention, it just sits there quietly, 8 symmetrical arms stretching out like a carved wooden compass. Elegant, mysterious, but when used the right way, it's one of the most powerful restoratives I've seen in my entire career. Richard was 68 when we first spoke. He'd tried everything, hormone therapy, blood flow meds, even considered surgery. Nothing brought him back to life. Nothing brought him peace. He told me, Doc, I'm not even trying to fix things anymore. I just want to stop feeling invisible. I handed him a star anise pod and said, you don't need to be loud, you just need to be steady. And I gave him the ritual, 1 full pod, chew it gently for 50 seconds, 30 minutes before intimacy. Let it soften, let the flavor bloom. Then follow with a glass of room temperature water. That's it. 3 weeks later, he was back in my office. No longer slumped, no longer hesitant. He shook my hand firmly and said, Doc, I didn't think this part of me would ever come back, but it did, and it feels better than it did at 40. The secret, shikimic acid, a natural compound in star anise that stimulates nitric oxide and harmonizes hormonal balance. But it's not just about blood flow or testosterone anymore. This spice activates something deeper. Desire, sensitivity, spontaneity. It helps restore a man's rhythm, not just physically, but emotionally. What I love about star anise is the cumulative effect. It builds day by day, arousal becomes more natural. Stamina improves, your system remembers, not like a jolt of lightning, more like a sunrise that doesn't stop rising. And when you've worked your way through all 5 of these, one by one, something unexpected begins to happen. Your body doesn't just respond, it reclaims. And what comes next is where it all comes together. 6th, the 50-second daily ritual, how to use all 5 spices together. By now, you've met each spice. Not just as ingredients, but as allies. Cinnamon to open the gates, cardamom to restore the signal, clove to reignite your fire, ginger to stir your circulation, and star anise to synchronize it all into something steady, lasting, and unmistakably alive. But how do you put them together? Let's make this simple. Because a ritual isn't something you memorize, it's something you return to every day, like brushing your teeth, like standing tall. Here's what I teach my patients. Start your day with cardamom. Morning is when nitric oxide levels are naturally low and circulation needs a nudge. Crack open 2 pods, chew the seeds for 50 seconds, then take 5 deep nasal breaths. You're not just preparing your body, you're setting your tone. Mid-morning or early afternoon. Take a piece of cinnamon bark, chew it slowly. Let the sweetness turn warm. Let the oil sit under your tongue. This balances insulin, boosts energy, and stabilizes your hormone rhythm for the rest of the day. Before dinner or about 4 to 6 hours before any planned intimacy, use ginger. A small peeled piece chewed for 50 seconds. Follow with light movement, a walk, some squats, even stretching. You're activating blood flow while your metabolism is still awake. In the evening, about 2 hours before bedtime, take a single clove. Let it warm your mouth. Let it remind your system that testosterone is still yours to produce. This moment belongs to you, calm, clear, and present. And finally, when it matters most, when connection is planned or welcomed, you star Anise. 30 minutes before intimacy. One pod chewed gently, followed by a glass of room temperature water. Not rushed, not forced, just part of your rhythm now. Altogether, this ritual takes no more than a few minutes across your day, but the effects, they compound, they restore, and most importantly, they put you back in touch with the man you remember being and the one you're still capable of becoming. This isn't a program, it's a promise you make to yourself every time you chew, every time you breathe, every time you decide to stop fading and start returning. And once you begin to feel what's possible, you'll understand why this final message matters so deeply. Final words, your fire was never gone. If you've made it this far, I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to understand something that too many men never get the chance to hear. You're not broken, you're not done, and you're not alone. Your strength, your drive, your spark, they didn't disappear, they just went quiet. Buried beneath the stress, the slow mornings, the quiet doubt that crept in after 60. But they're still there, and today, you've been given a key to start turning it all back on. 5 spices. 5 moments each day to remind your body who you are, and the most powerful part, it doesn't come from me. It comes from you, from that decision you make when you chew, when you breathe, when you show up again for yourself one day at a time. I've seen it too many times to doubt it now. Men in their late 60s, 70s, even 80s, not just returning to intimacy, but returning to life. Their walk changes, their voice deepens, their eyes come back to life. They stop asking, "Can I still?" and start saying, "I did." So here's what I ask of you. Don't let this video sit in your history tab and fade away. Act on it. Try just one spice today. Chew it for 50 seconds, and while you do, say this to yourself: I'm still here, I still matter, and I'm not finished. And if this message stirred something in you, if it gave you even a sliver of hope or clarity, then let us know. Drop a comment, even a simple one, to say, "I'm ready." Or 0 if you're still not sure. That's okay too. We read them all. Because this podcast, this channel, this community, it exists for men like you. Tap the like button if this episode helped you. It's not just a gesture, it tells the algorithm and tells us that this content matters. Share this with a brother, a father, a friend who needs it. You never know what one video might change. And of course, hit subscribe, because we're just getting started. And I promise what's coming next will meet you right where you are. Take care of your body, take pride in your fire. And remember, aging is not a decline, it's a return. Your return starts now.